Alright, I decided to switch to a 4-inch hole saw like I had originally planned. So it's cutting at about the same spot here, but it's just a hair deeper this way, and I think that'll be fine. So I've got to stop here because the rotation of this is going to want to pull it that way, and then I've got it clamped down to the table, and should be fine. So let's see how this goes. Close. Let me see if I get enough. There we go. So yeah, it's got a little bit of a up swoop on it, but that'll be okay. That whole saw leaves a pretty rough surface, and this, by running this pin through there to keep them together, this makes pretty quick work of sanding all of these and keeping them fairly square. This is 150, by the way. I probably could have been a little more aggressive with the paper. At some point you have to ask yourself, tape dispenser or work of art? And I just answered my own question. Tape dispenser. Good enough. Yeah, you're not going to believe this. I just went to pick up my old tape dispenser right here, and it snapped right off. Proof positive that it was not a good design. Whatever. What I was going to do was flip this over and use this as a registering bed, I guess. Kind of see how things are going to line up. So because I know what tapes I'm using, I'm going to make this custom 3-inch, 2-inch, 1.5 inch, 1-inch, 3/4 inch. So I'll make my spacing accordingly. And that'll give me a little tighter fit this way, even though I'm using wider pieces here. The fit will end up being about the same width as this one, so that'll be good. That so something. And I'll try and leave the same amount of space, like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch for each of these. But you can see here's the base. Yeah, it's going to be a little wider. No, I don't want to start off the very end. I want to be about 2 inches in. So I'm going to start about there. Okay, 3/4 inch roll of tape. Let's say 7/8 inch spacing. Yeah. One inch. So 1 1/8 inches. Yep, that'll work. And that looks good to me. Inch. Just make a note here, so outside dado, 7/8 to the next one, 1 1/8 to the next one, 1 5/8, 2 inch, 3 inch. And that should get me right where I want to be. 7/8, 1 1/8, 1 5/8. No, that's got to be tightened up. 2 inch. Three-inch. Okay. I'll set up a dado stack and run these. Got the curves, or the dados made in my plywood, but it created a problem. And you can see that I got a pretty good bow now. About 1/8 of an inch, I'm guessing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here in the middle. I'm going to put some 1/8 inch kerfs, about half the thickness of the ply, and see if that will release some of this tension. And then I'll just keep going out from, I guess I'll start here. These three. This one first, then these two, and just see how it starts to settle down. You can see that that helped tremendously. I ended up doing a fourth one over here, which is kind of pretty much, these four are centered in the plywood. But I don't have to push down hardly at all to get that to go flat. I mean, it feels like I'm not pushing down at all. I guess it is flexing a little bit, especially right out here. So, but that helped a lot. And what I'll do is, once I get it finished, I'll come back and fill those grooves with something. All right, I made. First of all, I made marks here, drilled some holes on my drill press, countersunk them, and then used a Vicks bit to mark my uprights here. And then when I put this in place, I'll now be able to drag these screws in and draw this tight. Oh, and incidentally, I cut this nearly to finished width, but I used the drop to hold these at 90 degrees, equal spacing. I'm going to start here in the middle. Okay, that came nice and tight. I'll work my way along here. And what I hope to accomplish is to get this flush, which it is. The last one I made, I glued these in place, and I don't want to do that. I'm going to use some screws this time so that if I want to make changes, I can pull this thing apart. So I'm going to scribe some lines here where I can drop a couple screws in each one of these to snug them up. Alright, I got my blade cutter done, and that's nothing more than, well, here I'll show you my old one. I've got a little rabbet here that the blades register to, 2 holes to hold each blade, and then a couple slots that allows this to go up and down to find that sweet spot. Now the other part of it is I've routed a groove here to hold these screws, or to allow this thing to sit flat, that slides along this rail, I'll call it. At any rate, I can move it up and down depending upon, or side to side I should say, depending upon where I want to dispense tape. But then I can also get this up and down. So down is I would call it the safe mode. You can't, it'd be pretty hard to hurt yourself on that. It's well, not well below the surface, but it is below the surface. So if it's not in use, that'd be a good place to store it so you don't get cut accidentally. The cutter then can be adjusted up, and my feeling is that the teeth just need to be barely above this 14-degree taper I have on here. And then here's the back that allows for this thing to slide. Alright, so that's just a route and groove. Now I just need to fasten it to the front of this, and then I believe I'm ready to rock and roll here. Alright, I just finished installing 2 T-nuts on the back of this piece that fastens to my tape dispenser. Clamped it in place, so here they are. And then I'm just going to transfer these hole locations so I can drill a corresponding hole from the other side, or from the other piece. Alright, that just barely worked out, but it did work out, so I'm happy about that. So I'll install this, but before I do, I have to get my bolts in here. Okay, that'll work. Okay. think the nice thing about this is that these bolts cannot fall out. So that's gonna shift back and forth nicely. Put it down here to start with. And I'll get my dowels cut and be right back.